Hey, what's up, guys? We are at Heart of the Game right now with Partho. And what did you do today?
Hey, I went X1 with Labyrinth. I've been playing this deck for quite a while. The main deck I've been playing like this for a fair amount of time, but I think it's a decent primer for anyone who's looking to pick up the deck.
Great. So yeah, we'll check out your Unchained Labyrinth list. Would you classify it mainly as a Labyrinth deck with Unchained cards, or Unchained Labyrinth?
Yeah, I mean, I think even though there's only 2 main deck Unchained cards you'll see in the list, I think it makes sense to call it Unchained Lab because you do go into the extra deck quite a bit, and that's like another axis for your deck that is really important for a lot of your plays. So I think it's fair to call it Unchained Lab.
Great. Any shoutouts before we get into the deck profile?
Shoutouts to everyone in Buffalo, all the homies, Buffalo versus everyone,
Of course.
Hog, and yeah.
Alrighty, let's see that main deck.
All right.
40 card main deck?
It's exactly 40 cards. Just helps consistency wise. I think this is standard 3 clock, 3 chandelier, and then 3 stovey. You just want to see your engine as much as possible. Your engine is what helps you win the games, and with my particular deck, with the Unchained stuff, you want to generate bodies to go into your link plays to be able to access that part of the deck. The thing with this is, even if you get Ash on your welcome or your big welcome, you can still generate an end board by ending on Rage plus the Unchained Trap. So you can still get to that, and then the Unchained Trap gets you back into your full engine, which is nice.
Nice.
So yep, the 9 furnitures, so that's pretty standard. 3 Ariana, the main searcher for the deck, that's also pretty standard. The only thing to note with this is that you can only use one of her effects per turn. You can't use both effects in the same turn. So that's just something to keep in mind. What I play that a lot of people don't play is the 1 Ariane.
So how do you like her?
This card is really, really good for a lot of different reasons. You can summon Ariana from deck, but I also play Barrier Statue in the side deck, so you can summon Barrier Statue right from the deck with it as well.
Yeah.
One thing you could do with this card is you can use both effects the same turn, so it's not like this card. So let's say turn 1 you have clock plus any of the other furnitures. Instead of going for turn 1 lovely, if you want to generate into resources or draw into hand traps, you can go draw phase, activate the furniture, activate the clock, reverse order of course, and then summon back the clock, activate the big welcome, summon this from deck, return the clock, then you get the draw and then the summon. And if you do it in draw phase, you can still extravagance during the main phase because extravagance for the rest of the turn. So you can accrue nice advantage that way. It also helps you play around Droll, which is kind of ironic for this deck. You wouldn't think it hits the deck too much, but
this version maybe.
It's not too painful, but if you can play around it for free, you might as well. So it's just something you can do. But this card is super cool. Another thing that comes up a lot is you can bounce other cards and summon it back if a monster leaves the field, right? So if you have Barrier Statue or something and then they imperm it, you can just go cool, Big Welcome Engrave, banish to return it, and then you can use the effect to bounce and summon it back. So you still have the live Barrier Statue even though they impermed it.
Oh, that's nice.
So you have some cool plays with that. And then a lot of people don't imperm this on summon, which is fair, but if they don't imperm this on summon and then I send a big welcome from my hand or field and they don't have Ash, then I dodge the imperm and I dodge Veiler because I can just banish the big welcome engrave to bounce whatever I summon, or this depending on what they're targeting with the imperm.
Nice.
So it just helps play around a lot of things and just generates more bodies.
Wouldn't cut her?
No, I wouldn't cut her. I think she's fine at 1. I mean, the normal summons in your deck are really the 3 Ariana and then the 1 Ariane. That's pretty much it. And I think that's a pretty solid number, honestly.
Sure.
Play the 1 Lovely. I used to play more. It's not correct to play more. She's a really good card. It does suck when she gets banished, but it is what it is. There are a couple of things I was thinking to get her back, but it's really not worth it. 1 is fine. This is something that a lot of people probably don't play. I play 3 Lady Labyrinths. My build again really likes bodies, so you can summon this as a free body if you use the Labyrinth card's effect, and then you can go into the Unchained stuff because it's just an extra body to link with.
Yeah.
It's also the level 8 to go into Chaos Angel, so I really want to get into my bodies as much as possible. That's what this deck is. Even though it has a lot of traps, I view it more as a mid-range deck, honestly. And then the last new card, the 3 Arias.
Wow.
At first, like a lot of people, I thought this was a one of, but playtesting it gets you into more bodies. And the more bodies you can go into Chaos Angel or Unchained stuff. It also lets you make the turn 0 plays, like on your opponent's turn, as an additional interrupt. Like if you draw into one of your traps, and I do play a fair amount of like non-engine normal traps that you can set off this and disrupt your opponent. So 3 is a pretty good number. I really do like it at 3, and I think it's important going second for this deck.
Do you ever side them out? Going first or anything?
No, actually, I don't, because like if I was going first, I'd want to still see this card to be able to activate welcomes or big welcomes that I draw into as fast as possible. If I'm going second, I want to see this card so I can disrupt my opponent. So I'm really not siding this card out. There are actually a lot of like combos with the deck that you need your engine pieces for. So like I know a lot of people cut some of the stuff, but like let's say if you cut like a lady labyrinth, then you have a less chance of seeing, let's say, a furniture plus big welcome plus lady that lets you get the bounce, right?
Yep.
So you have a bunch of 2 or 3 card combinations that gets you there, but the trade-off is I'm playing a lot less hand traps than most people, so it is a downside. The last monster in the deck is Unchained Soul of Shivaro. This is one of the 2 cards that you need to play for the Unchained part of the deck. This is also really cool. Even if you hard draw it, you can go like normal summon Ariana the Impermit, you can chain this, pop, and then you can dodge things that way. You can also, if you have your Unchained stuff in grave, you can use this to trigger your Yama in grave, and then you can like summon a Chaos Angel on your opponent's turn when they aren't expecting it. So you can do a lot of like cool stuff with this card, and it gets you into the Unchained trap.
Nice.
So the Labyrinth spells and traps, the 1 Labyrinth, that's super useful. The pop is non-targeting, which is nice, and then if you use a non-labyrinth trap, you can revive back a fiend. So I play glitch in the deck, as you'll see later, so you can actually send barrier statue to the deck if you use glitch, and then this revives back barrier statue immediately right after.
That's so cool.
So you have a lot of ways to get into barrier statue in the side. So against non-dark decks, you can do something nasty to them. 3 welcome labyrinths. A lot of people play 2. I think 3 is a good number to see it. I want to see it in conjunction with Arias. I want to see it just turn 1. If they ash it, I want to have a follow-up. So I do want to see this card. This is one of the things, though, like in siding, like potentially you can cut 1, but I do like seeing engine, and I think that's important for this deck.
Sure.
And then one of the best, probably the best card in the deck, Big Welcome. You can bounce your own stuff with it. Like you can bounce, like I was giving the example earlier with the barrier statue and then summon it back. You can bounce your opponent's stuff with it, which is really good. It's really good right now because of Fire Kings. So you can banish and bounce their stuff, and then that doesn't trigger anything. So you can do a lot of like really cute plays with Big Welcome. You can also bounce your, like if you have a nib or something, you can summon something and bounce nib back to hand. So you can use nib, and if they aren't expecting it, and if you have a nib on field, then you can just nib them again.
So good.
So you can do some cool things, but you just have to think about it a little bit with this card. You don't want to cycle through them too quickly because you could end up using a bunch. I know like it's hard to, but a lot of decks this format can grind, so you want to make sure you have enough. I used to play the quick play a labyrinth card to recycle them, but it's really not worth it right now, in my opinion. But this is just really good. You need to have 3. I think 3 is the correct number, and 3 is what most people play. And then for the non-labyrinth stuff, the 3 Extravagance. This card is good. You kind of want people to ash it sometimes. I do play the Unchained stuff, and some people are like, oh, don't they conflict? The chance of you banishing all 3 Yamas is very, very little. And you can rely on your main deck, and the extra 2 cards can get you more furnitures, more ways to get into engine to set up your boards. So I think 3 is fine. This is one of the cards I side out the most, though. So like going first, even I can side out 2 if a barrier statue play is good, and then going second, sometimes even side out all 3 because like oftentimes it's just going to be dead if they set up interaction. You know, like against Infernoble, if you go second with this deck, you don't draw any interaction, you just have this and dead, you're going to lose.
Yes.
So this is good, and like I said, just keep in mind you can draw before you activate this card, so you can draw on draw phase and then go in main phase and draw with it.
Yeah, that's very important.
The 1 non-normal trap in my deck, Skill Drain, I used to play 3 of these, but then seeing too many of them is bricky. And then you might be asking like, oh, then why do you even play one in the first place? It can just straight up win games, honestly. Like almost every single deck, if you resolve this and it gives you turns, and then you can win with it. But the thing is, if you see any more than 1, it sucks, and you can win without it. But it's such a strong card that I think it's worth playing at 1 for the chance of seeing it. And the only deck that it's kind of iffy against is maybe Fire Kings, but even then, they're not going to be able to, let's say, pop from deck with Garunix. So this is still pretty solid. And then the normal traps, I do play a bunch of non-Labyrinth ones. So Compulse, Daruma, Terrors, Ice Dragon's Parison, Eradicator, Glitch, Imperm. And then the last one is Escape, which is the second part of the Unchained package. This one, you target one Unchained monster you control on any other card in the field and pop them both. It has to destroy them both. This lets you get into your back into your engine if they ash your welcomes and big welcomes. You can just go, okay, pop my Unchained, and even if you pop one of the spells and traps, you're still popping your own Unchained monster that gets you back into everything. If they evenly you, it's fine because you pop your own Unchained stuff, you pop one of your other cards, and then you still get back everything. You get back your Unchained Lynx effects, so that's really good. This used to be D-Barrier in the main. I swapped it with Imperm because a lot of decks right now don't need to really use some of those extra deck types like Fire Kings and Rescue Ace. So Imperm is a solid option, but it's my only true hand trap per se. Eradicator, I know a lot of people side deck. I think it's powerful enough to main deck, honestly, but you can always pitch it if you don't need it. I just like it. It's kind of like, there's some decks right now that still have like annoying floodgates, and it's kind of ironic maybe coming from a lab player, but this is just a nice way of an engine of clearing like a lot of back row. But it's definitely like cuttable. You can swap it for something else. I'm just comfortable playing with it. It might not be corrected to play this in the main, but I do enjoy it, so I'm playing it.
Makes sense. Did it come up today at all, for instance?
Eradicator, I think I threatened it a couple times, and then like by that point the game was already gone and over with. There are times though when you can see it's really good, because like if you make a play and they might have talents or thrust in hand. After you make a play and you have this and you just do it, and then all of their all their spells are gone, so no worry about talents or thrusts.
That's pretty good.
Sometimes you can wait for like if you're playing against a Horus deck, you can wait until after they resolve the discard to add, and then you just do it then.
That's pretty good.
So yeah, you can do it. I view it sometimes as like a costly MST, but it's very strong because you get hand knowledge. Even if you rip nothing from their hand, the hand knowledge lets you use your traps to the most effectiveness. And all these other traps are very good. Like this is non-targeting removal. This is probably the best, or one of the best normal traps in the deck. Like this IDP is really good, but like Fire Kings right now, they have a lot of different types, so sometimes you might not really banish what you want to successfully unless there are certain situations. Compulse is just Compulse. You can Compulse your own stuff, you can Compulse your opponent's stuff. It's really useful and triggers all your furniture. And this Daruma is just like really, really strong. It just lets you survive and lets you interrupt your opponent's plays. I think everything else is pretty standard.
The glitch, yeah.
This is a little unique. You do need a Fiend for it. It's not a hard once per turn, but the thing is, you can do cute stuff like send Barrier Statue from deck and have the field spell and then revive it. So you can do cool stuff with that. You can also just get into more of your furnitures, more of your Labyrinth engines. It just lets you turbo into plays, and it's like it's just a versatile pop. Sometimes I've had a couple of cases where Terrors has been dead because my opponent hasn't put anything in grave, or something like that. And Glitch is just more generic, in that sense. Most of the time Terrors is better, but Glitch is still like really solid. It is one of the things I side out though a lot.
Nice.
And then do you want to see the extra next?
Yeah, let's see the extra.
Okay. So let's start with the Unchained stuff. You have, and then there's the 3 Yamas.
Of course.
So this is the main part of your engine. The important part about this card is, so when you summon it with any 2 Fiends, you get to add an Unchained monster from your deck to your hand. So you add Shavara, and that lets you have an extra extender to link with or do other things with. And then in the graveyard, this is the most relevant part of the effect. If any of your cards are destroyed, like back row or monsters, you can banish it and summon back any fiend from your grave or your hand, and then you can destroy one card you control, where you're almost never destroying your cards.
Yeah.
You want to summon back a lot of things, like you can summon back Ariana on your opponent's turn. This works during the damage step. If they beat over your barrier statue, you can banish it, summon it back. So you can definitely brutalize some non-dark decks with it. But Yama is really good. It lets you keep going back into your engine. It's very sticky. And it lets you do something with the bodies. And Yama is an Unchained Soul monster, so it lets you go into things like Soul of Rage. It lets you go into Anguish, and then you can climb also into Abomination, so more Unchained packages.
Do you like those ones?
Yeah, I do. This lets you link with your opponent's stuff. It's not a quick effect. This is a quick effect. You can link with your opponent's special summon monsters. So this is really good because then you can make SP if you're not welcome locked, because welcome locks you into fiends, but you can make SP on your opponent's turn, banish a card, have more interaction. If they beat over this triggers, you can summon something back. So you have a lot of cute plays with that. These also recur fiends from the graveyard when they die, so you can get back a lot of advantage this way. Like, the point of this deck is just to overwhelm your opponents with resources. You want them to make mistakes, and you want to like outplay them in the resource game.
Sure.
So then the other things are kind of standard. Let me just move these to the side. So the 6 Unchained cards.
Makes sense.
The 3 Chaos Angels, because it's one of your main forms of removal. You can make this with Arius and any of your level 4s. You can make this with your level 8s and Stovey. So you have a lot of ways into this. This triggers. It's not a hard once per turn. You can revive it back off of Muckraker. Play 2 Muckraker, and then you can get the banish that way. You can revive it off of Yama on your opponent's turn, and then summon it, and then that works. You can revive it off of the field spell, and then banish something, and that works. So you can have a lot of ways of playing with this card.
I see why you run 3 on top of the Extrav, yeah.
Yeah, and then if it's made with darks, which it always will be in your deck, none of your stuff can be die by battle. So like, for example, if you have like this, they can't threaten this because it just can't can't die by battle. So it's pretty cool like that. So I think this is really important. I used to play 3 Muckraker. I dropped it down to 2 because functionally, like, Yama revives from grave anyways. You don't need to discard. It's a little bit more work, but like it's a little better. You don't need to discard. Sure. This still comes up from time to time, so it's still good. But I only need 2.
Change your mind real quick.
So the next 2 links, we have SP that I mentioned before, and then Underworld Goddess. This is really important for like Noir, Expertly Noir, stuff like that, stuff you can't get over. Just enough bodies, and this deck can get you to plenty of bodies. Like, you can summon 3, 4, 5 bodies. I've been nibbed before plenty of times with this deck. The cool part though is, even if you're nibbed with this deck, as long as you commit to the Unchained stuff early enough, it's still hard for you to your opponents to deal with your board, and you can still get back to everything, and you still have interaction.
Nice.
And then the last 2 are Xyz monsters. Typhon, really cool, really good card. Maybe a second one would be useful. Space-wise, I have to figure out what I want for it. Maybe cut a Muckraker for a second Typhon.
Okay.
But it is really good. And then the last card,
Exciton.
has definitely won me a lot of matches before. Just remember, Welcome locks you into Fiends from the extra deck. The only non-Fiend in this entire extra deck is SP. Exciton is really good. It's not a hard once per turn. You can use its effective ones, and then you can use it again. It's also a fiend, so that's really good. It really surprised a lot of people. Most people don't play around it, and then you can basically get back into games when you should be losing. You can also make it with Ariane, summoning Ariana, adding 1, make Exciton right there. So you have the ways into it.
So you want to cut the Exciton?
No, I would not cut the Exciton. The only thing I would consider cutting would be one of the Muckrakers for a second Sky Crisis.
Did you miss Zeus at all?
No, because a lot of times you're going to be welcome locked, and the chance of you being able to effectively like have an Xyz monster battle, whether it's you or your opponents, and then make the Zeus and have enough materials for that is just not going to be relevant enough. You only play like 2 Xyz monsters anyway.
Yeah, I was gonna say you would have to play a package, but I just had to ask since that's something I've seen in other people's lab decks.
Yeah. So unfortunately not.
Sure. If you want to show off your side deck quickly.
Yeah. So I think like the biggest cards in the deck, just the standard stuff, 3 drills and 3 nibs. I know a lot of people main the nibs because it's really good. If you go nib chain link 1, one of your furniture's chain link 2, you pitch this from hand, everything still gets tributed. They don't get a token though.
Whoa!
So,
Oh yeah.
yeah, and then you can also bounce this to hand, like I mentioned before, with big welcome. So you have interesting interactions with this. It's not always ideal, that's why I side it. But these are my power hand traps. Going second, I'm siding all 6 of these against certain decks like Infernoble. I want to try to stop them as much as possible. I want to try to keep as much engine in the deck as well. So I'm siding out stuff like the Extravagances for this stuff, because I want to stop my opponents as much as possible and then just see my engine and kill them. That's the whole point. This deck can definitely OTK. You can definitely OTK with this deck. Another important board breaker right now, Evenly.
Ooh, evenly.
Main deck 3 Evenly. I think it's pretty solid right now against like Rescue Ace boards, against some other matchups. It's just really nice. You don't have to worry about too much. If you nib and give someone the token and then you evenly them, they have to keep the token so you can clear the board, which is always really nice. It's also a trap, so you can technically set it off of Lady Labyrinth,
Yep.
and then you can use it actually in certain interactions. Like you can go Coup Clock, and then you can flip this up after a set, and then you can go Big Welcome bouncing your Lady, and then you just have basically an evenly that you search from the deck.
Yeah, that's
so
so
use
cool.
some resources for it, but you can definitely do that. And then Phantasme. You just want to see your engine cards as much as possible. There's some decks that I don't think Droll is as good against, like a Rescue Ace, for example, is a deck that's I'm kind of iffy on. But there are a lot of decks where this is really good against, like those matchups where like Droll or maybe Nib might not be great. Usually they're linked decks, and you can make a lot of advantage with this. You can see the engine you want to see with your main deck, with the traps, the furnitures, and the traps off of the areas, and then you can get to that, and then you can also negate anything that targets.
Super good in your deck for that reason.
Yeah, I think siding into it. This is actually a newer. I wasn't playing this strategy, but I was seeing a lot of other lists from the European YCS and Bologna play it. And I think the logic makes a lot of sense. It used to be like Spellbound and some other cards, but I think this is just better utility. You just want to see your engine as much as possible. You want to see your interaction as much as possible. And then the last couple cards, because I don't main deck this is really good. I play one of this. I used to play multiples. This just kills Unchained because they can't pop any of their sets.
Got it.
And then it gets you into your engine. So going first, I usually try to siding this in. And then like even if they ash me and bell me or whatever, I can still go and summon this and then set another big welcome and have a play on the follow-up. And then the last card, the card I've talked so much about, Barrier Statue.
Yes.
I think my deck is okay overall as an Unchained deck. I know people have their own preferences. The thing I've noticed the most though between my deck and other decks is that I think this card is a lot more slept on than it should be. I think more people should be playing this card. Maybe it's because people aren't playing Ariane, but you can summon this straight off the deck with Ariane. This kills like a lot of like your matchups. Like it wins against things like Rescue Ace. It wins against things like Fiery Kings. It's just really, really good. You can revive it. You can protect it. You can do so much with it. It's actually kind of nuts. So this card I think should be played more. I think it's a really good card.
Do you like it going first or even second, or is it just going first?
No, there are certain matchups where I sided going first or second. Usually it's just the first only card, but the one matchup that you sided going second is Centurion.
Oh, yeah.
If once they let you go into main phase, if you draw this, you just go normal summon. They can't do anything because they can't make their level 8, level 12 synchros because they're not dark. So this just like basically wins the matchup, and then you just do Labyrinth stuff and then just win from there.
That's crazy.
So this is really good for basically stuff like that.
Nice. And basically, you're just summoning off him. Just for the people who are wondering, you're really summoning him off of Ariane and like other ways through like Muckracker and stuff like that,
yeah,
right?
You're summoning off of Ariane. You can get glitch from deck if you have the field spell. You can glitch one of your own cards even.
Oh yeah, the field spell too. Yeah.
Summon this back. You can do it that way. If you hard draw it, that's fine. You don't need to commit to it right away. You can wait till your opponent's turn, activate a big welcome or something. If you have Ariane or Ariane on field, summon something bounce and then trigger their effect to surprise summon this on their turn, so they don't play. You can play on Imprim that way because you make them commit something.
Yep.
So there's a lot of different ways you can get this on board. One thing I will say is don't overcommit into it. If you don't have too much engine, summon the Arian off Arian. Summon the Arian off Arian. You could try drawing into it or something later, but you need your engine to win. This is just the extra little something on top to win if you have everything else.
Sounds good.
Yep.
Thank you very much for the profile. Congratulations, and looking forward to having you back on the channel. See you guys later. Leave a like and subscribe. Have a good day.
Perfect.